Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Taboo Talks with SISociety. Today we have a treat. We're going to be talking about psychedelic integration and the importance of the aftercare of the medicine journey with these plant allies, with Toma. Right now, Heather. Meow.
Meow. Hi. Hey, lover.
Hi.
Hey.
Toma, you should be able to request to join us as well. Here we are. Perfect.
Ah.
Uh,
Hey there.
hi.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi.
I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah,
And
good to see you. Yeah.
I know
How you been?
huh?
How have you been?
Honestly, since coming back to Berlin, I could have really used one of your hugs. Let's just put it that way. It's been a lot of integration from the festival, and I just feel yesterday and today like I'm now embodying some more light, but there was a good amount of shadow to move through and just be with. And so that was that.
Nice.
Love to
Yeah.
just do like deep collective inhales and exhales just for clearing the space, because I know like we've all just been moving a lot of energy through our bodies this last week.
Yeah.
So
Please
maybe
guide us in a meditation. Let's ground us before we jump in.
yeah, and please, anyone that's joining us, like feel free to jump in on this just quick cleansing practice. You can just close their eyes, find steadiness in the body. If you have access to the earth, to the ground, just grounding in with your feet. Maybe like reaching up, if you feel like it, reaching up to the sky, grounding into the earth, and just imagining yourself being this channel, this want to allow the skies and the heavens and the earth to flow through you, feeling sturdy. And we're going to start with a deep inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Yeah. And with each inhale and exhale, just let whatever noises, anything, any words, any release that wants to move through. You're going to do a couple more of those. Inhale. Exhale, release. Inhale. Exhale, release. And with the next exhale, you're going to imagine that you're shooting light through your fingertips, extending into the heavens, and light through your feet, extending into the earth. Inhale. Two more of those. Sending light through your fingers and through your feet. That last exhale, just feeling you locking into place, sturdily connected in this in-between realm, holding the heavens and the earths, being held by the heavens and the earths, finding stillness, finding gratitude. Perhaps finding a one-word intention for your day, for your night, wherever you are in the world. And filling yourself up with the light of that intention, the frequency of that word. Slowly letting yourself dissolve back into the body. Mm. Oh, yeah.
Good stuff.
I could do that for like an hour right now.
Let's do it through this conversation. Let's allow this conversation to be the medicine that it is, was, and always has been. Yeah. For those of you that are joining, we are SISociety. We're a global community that transmute density through conversations around taboo topics. If you're interested in knowing more, DM either myself or Alfina or SISociety, and we'd be happy to talk to you more about that. Every month, we focus on a different taboo topic to ultimately excavate it from the subconscious and bring it to the conscious space to really harmonize these dualities that are really ever present on the planet. And today, I am so grateful and honored to welcome Tomas to his very first, is that correct? Your very first Instagram Live. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself, but from what you've shared with me and what I've met in you, a true light and a sorcerer of love is how I would describe you. But he is a medicine man and an integrative guide. And yeah, I'd love to pass the mic to you to just speak into whatever's coming up in your heart that you want to share and in what you bring to the world and how you serve.
Okay, I give you the short version, yeah, in a nutshell. My name is Toma. I was born in Germany, and I'm a former mechanical engineer with a professional career, 20 years in the automotive sector. Life circumstances and karma let me, or I face a near-death experience in which my consciousness left my body, and it started with a astral projection, and later I floated in the universe, pure ball of consciousness, 360 degrees vision, and I relived my life new, which was a very egocentric lifestyle, and starting with coming out of my mother's womb, really graphic, and so I relived every human interaction once more, but from the third person's perspective. And for the first time, I saw the nonverbal communication I inherited from my parents and the intentions behind those interactions. And I was a chronicle liar, and I did a lot of damage to many people and to myself. And I was flying through a tunnel, entered the white light, met God, love, the source, and suddenly I was back in my body. And I had a really difficult time putting this mystical, spiritual experience in my rational framework. I experienced existential crisis, depression, burnout, and I went through psychotherapy, 1 year of psychotherapy. I started researching about the benefits of psychedelic therapy, became a psychonaut, and I somehow created a shaman syndrome, a symptom which many of us face who work with psychedelics. Luckily, I grew out of it, and but in the end, I saw the only solution to leave Germany and my job behind, and I moved with my wife to Brazil. I worked intensively with ayahuasca. I was eager to learn how the indigenous and non-indigenous tribes working with the medicine, and I learned a lot about myself, and I realized that I'm definitely not a shaman. More like a medicine man, and during my own healing process, I started introducing psychedelic therapy to close friends, and that was, like, you could say, the kickstart for my work, what I'm doing. Since 6 years, I introduce psychedelic therapy mainly with the psilocybin mushroom and free-base DMT to people who are interested in that, and I help with the integration work. My wife is a psychologist, familiar with the medicines, and and since 2 years I opened the box with spirituality, which I pushed away for a long time. And I'm trying to raise awareness about this, let's say, new age shamanism, the wave which swaps over the world right now, with especially with ayahuasca. And based on my experiences here at the source in Brazil, I saw, or I see, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm trying to raise awareness with this medicines, and I'm trying to talk about the ups and downs and pitfalls of the spiritual journey.
Wow, thank you for that introduction and just giving us this feel for your journey. And there's so much that I want to go into, like you're sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly. But before we even hop into any of that, something that really stuck out to me that you mentioned is learning the difference between a shaman and a medicine man. And I'm like really curious to hear what your definition and how you would differentiate those two.
So let's say a shaman. There's a reason why a shaman is not living with the village. He lives most likely in a cave or in a shack, and is a little bit cuckoo. Yeah, he puts himself on heroic dosages with medicines, and he enters the spiritual world. He truly understands the 5 elements, not 4, 5 elements, and they are capable of summon the rain, communicating with animals, and most people cannot do that. Yeah, because I think they are lost in their vocabulary, or because the basic knowledge what many people have about shamans is what they know from television. And, And if you are administering medicines, but on the next weekend you go out partying, then you're not a shaman. Simple. And it's a very delicate subject because many let's say servants or healers have a strong identification with their service, which is already something to think about. But mainly a medicine man, what you do as a medicine man, you create a safe environment for a person to have the psychedelic experience. I don't like the word guiding. Yes, there are some tricks you can apply to somehow navigate the trip, but in the end, it's the client alone with the medicine, and you cannot go in their head. So your job is simply to create a safe environment, and later on to help integrating this the downloaded information. And yeah, that's my definition of separation between shamans and medicine men or women.
Yeah, I'm kind of hearing that like the shaman is more of this like lifestyle, like you're in it every single day. Versus
It comes with this. It comes with a lot of devotion. Yeah, as I said, if you're nowadays, let's say, I'm trying not to judge. I'm trying to point out what I see. If you go on social media and there are so many so-called shamans, and they go to Burning Man and they are dressed up. They're somewhat MMA fighters, models, /this. No, this is not it.
Yeah.
Shamanism goes strongly together with solitary.
So like to the divine, right, and to serve.
Sorry?
I hear that it's a lifelong commitment and devotion to the divine and to service, and almost like having a child, right? You can't like unmother yourself. You're still a mother. It feels very much like the role of a shaman in a way, kind of, holding the universe in the palm of their hand with a lot of sacred responsibility.
Yeah, what I see, give you a stupid example. Shaman Kevin, who did 50 times ayahuasca, now feels fit to administer this medicine, which is so old, and these people are imitating indigenous practices. They're not familiar with the Icarus, with the singings, with the prayers, and what's happening there in Europe, especially around Berlin. You can do a lot of ceremonies there, which is, I think it's simply, but this is my own philosophy, it's my own opinion. I think this is simply wrong. I believe this medicine belongs to South America, because if you call the pages, the medicine men from the Hunikuin tribe, for example, they call the spirits of the forest Siri, Yushibu, Jiboya, and there in Berlin, those people don't know. They simply don't know about how to communicate with the medicine. Yeah, the indigenous people, they carry this medicine with the Icarus, with those prayers through the centuries. They protect the medicine, the spirit of the medicine, with these prayers, and those pages are many of them are, or their parents or their mothers were already under the influence of the medicine. They carry this medicine in their genetics, and this is something you cannot teach.
Mm.
If you haven't been initiated by one of the pages or shamans from the Amazon rainforest and have lived with them for a few years, then you're simply not a shaman.
Mm.
That's it.
So I was gonna ask you, like, what would qualify someone as a shaman? So in your opinion, it's like having that shaman lineage and then also going through some sort of sacred initiation with other shamans.
I think if I understood the question correct, it is, yeah, it's simply important to be initiated by one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And without this initiation, you don't have permission to carry this titan, right? And many people call this evolution, but ask yourself this question: does an ancient tradition suddenly, in this new age period, suddenly needs an upgrade? No. Our duty as medicine men and women is to protect this medicines and the ancient indigenous ways. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And it was nice to hear again. Elfie, actually, I asked him a similar question when we first met. Like, I felt intuitively called to ask the same question, and it was beautiful to elaborate on it. I think something that's coming up, I hear that you went through a really intense experience with your near-death experience, and then ayahuasca was work to integrate these work for you. You open to sharing what the medicine taught you and how you believe it brought you back to the space of balance and neutrality?
Well, the medicine didn't bring me back. Yeah, it's the integration work which brings you back.
Mm-hmm.
The medicine is just a tool. It's like a hammer. You can build a house, or you can smash your head in with that. So it is, yeah, it lays all in the integration work. Yeah, and if you're busy with responsibilities, with a job, and simply your life, and you don't make space for the integration work, the medicine won't solve it. I have a few friends. They came over to Brazil, and I accompanied them to the Honey Queen pages to do ayahuasca, and they had a great experience. They went into their subconscious, opened boxes of trauma. But yes, if you open those boxes and you see your demons and your shadows, just knowing that they are there won't heal you. You need to integrate those shadows, and that means you probably need to change the life you live profoundly. Toxic environment, friends, and so on. You need to let go of certain things. You need to analyze yourself. And I think what those medicines told me is, first, because generally speaking, we lost, or the Western man lost his connection to the spirit. Yeah. And this capitalistic society in which we all grew up cut off this Wi-Fi connection to the spirit, to the source. And at some point the mind is left alone, and it's, as you grow older, the mind, which is just an operation system like Windows, right? And as you grow up, you install many programs, identification, and so on. So at some point, the mind believes he's the only one in charge, but also the mind is just a tool. It's just a temporary tool for this incarnation. The body, this spacesuit we have, is a temporary tool just to navigate ourselves through this, whatever that is, illusion. And I lost the line, sorry. And hold on. We lost the connection to the spirit, and at some point the mind is sitting here and the soul is sitting behind it, and they are really close to each other. And what sometimes, or in many cases, what a psychedelic trip brings, it creates a distance between soul and the observer, the soul and the mind. At some point, the soul and the mind, they see, we are different. We are two different things. And then you realize, oh, I am not my mind. I am not my body. I am something so much greater. I'm infinite, timeless. And after the trip, you go back, right? You're sober, and these two are closer together. And now you need to maintain or cultivate this this knowledge. You need to train with it. No, that's like that. With this concept, you can break behavior pattern programs. But again, you need to make space to. You need to create space to execute this, and to educate yourself about certain practices. And very important, I'm a big fan of working with a psychologist who is familiar with psychedelics, because you cannot do this alone. If you think you're so smart enough, no, you're not. And don't reach out to coaches and stuff. This is go for professional psychotherapy in combination with the medicine.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is like the psychotherapist represents the mind, the medicine represents almost like the soul. So like having those two together, like the dream team to help you fully integrate what's coming through. And like my question for you is, this is the whole line of work, is helping people to integrate. And what would be some of your top tips for successful integrating? I'm hearing like working with a psychotherapist. What other tips might you have for people that want to really integrate more after their medicine journey?
Well, I'm fortunate enough that my wife is a psychologist, right? So I give you an example how I work with my shadow. Let me tell you a little story. I once was working and I hit myself in the hand with a tool. I was bleeding, and I got really angry at myself, and I was my ego was dancing. I was full on in rage, and my mother-in-law and my wife were next to me, and as my ego was dancing there, I already looked at them. I just was waiting for a stupid comment so I can unload this anger towards them, but they kept their distance and they kept quiet. And at some point I regulated myself, and then my wife approached me and said, "Thomas, did you realize that your father was here right now?" And then I realized, and I thought, fuck, my father, the way I expressed that anger was 100% my father, which I was really hurt, who is a really hurt and really difficult man, choleric, and I always feared his anger, and there I was repeating this thing. And at some point, as I work with the observer and the mind, sometimes when I get angry, I feel my dad is coming up and he wants to go out and he wants to unleash the Kraken, right? and then if I'm quick enough, depends on my daily condition. I have good days and bad days, but if I'm able to catch him before he comes out, I take him aside. I say, "Hi, Dad. Nice that you're here. I love you. And I understand you want to go out, you want to make trouble, but it's not your time yet. I will release you another time. Now lean back and watch how I do it." And then you enter this situation or argument where you, whatever it is, what made you angry, it's not suppressing, it's just acknowledging he's here. And even I let him, I take a little bit of his energy with me, yeah, to satisfy him a little bit. And this works really, really well for me. So, but this takes practice, and you need to be conscious about your triggers. Observe yourself, be honest with yourself. Yeah, that's a tip I have to say. There are different models. Yeah, you can also say, oh, I have all my demons there. I'm driving a bus and all my demons are sitting behind in the bus. I'm driving and sometimes a demon comes forward, takes over the steering wheel without me knowing. And then you realize, oh, hold on. Am I driving or is my demon driving? Or my shadow driving? And then, okay, hey, go back inside. Not your time yet. And that's the baby steps for the integration work.
I love these metaphors are so helpful. They're so deeply helpful. I have a friend and they're in a polyamorous relationship, and I was having a discussion with her about it one day and how they navigate confrontation specifically. And she used one of these analogies, and she was like, we've begun to practice. It's a practice, right? When we're in spirit or when we're in ego. And they will say like, hey, I'm an ego. I can't have a conversation right now. I have to step back. And, sometimes they slip and they're having a conversation fully in this egocentric space, but it's an instrument that they're learning to play. And it reminds me a bit energetically of the demon in the bus, it's like, oh, who's really driving right now? And starting to ask yourself questions, specifically when you're feeling a lot in the body, which typically means that you're triggered, right? And that there's like something there that wants to be looked at, acknowledged, seen, heard. So yeah, I'm gonna take that one with me and use it. Like, who's driving the bus right now? Who's in control of the wheel? And then begin to integrate really that into my life and into more challenging interactions.
Well, that was a baby shadow, right? There are bigger ones, and I'm still in the process of learning how to deal with the bigger ones. So yeah, it's a never-ending process. And what I believe is, once you understand that you can tune yourself to become a better human being, right? And that then you realize that all the suffering you experienced in your life these are gold nuggets. Appreciate those gold nuggets. I carry my suffering, my traumata. I carry them like a treasure. It's for me, it's sacred. And there are so many of them, and never ends. And once you solve one rock, it's out of the way. Oh, there's another one. Oh, big one. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And
else, you're just like kind of bringing it down.
Yeah, and if you as when you always have like a safety net, which is the spiritual realm, where you always can fall back. Let's say what I learned in my process and with my near-death experience is what I understand. My spiritual worldview is that if you have the world of form. Oh no, let me hold on. Let me explain something else. The most of the time, the mind identifies with three planes, right? You have the plane of form, which is the body, the plane of thoughts, and the plane of feelings. And there we usually identify ourselves. That's my name, that's my body, that's my gender, this is my feelings, and so on. But there are more planes above. And once you find this spiritual plane where we are all one, where we are all one entity, because this is it, the spiritual realm. This is just, you can call it God, universe, energy, whatever floats your boat. We are just one entity on this planet, divided through the space suits. Yeah, and in my world view is, if you have the spiritual world here, no, not the physical world, our reality is here, and here is the spiritual world. Usually they lay on top of each other, they're intertwined, but to explain it to you, I put them next to each other. So in between those two realms there is a fabric, and there's a German biophysicist who calls it hyperspace, and he said this is where our memories are stored. Our memories are not stored in the brain. And he proved it with Alzheimer patients. He made clinical trials with Alzheimer patients in the end stadium of the disease, where he stimulated their brains with electromagnetic waves, and suddenly those people were they got back online. They could remember everything. Here, that's my daughter, that's my husband, la 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 la. And they pulled the plug, poof, they were back down. So he somewhat proved that the brain and its neurological network works like an antenna, and the memories are stored in this hyperspace. And there's a lot of let's say investigation in the University of Jerusalem under Professor Haramain, and it's a really interesting topic, but I'm drifting, sorry. So you have this, our reality, the spiritual realm, and in this spiritual realm there's let's say God. It's just one big energy field, and there's no time. Let's say I call it God. God is not an old grumpy man in the heavens. No, this is this energy field, let's say it. And God wants to experience itself, but God exists in this realm every fucking where. So he cannot move left, right, up, down. It doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. So what God does, he goes through this fabric, hyperspace. He puts on a space suit. And here we are. Here's you, here am I, and here all the rest of the people. And now God can experience itself through those spacesuits. And it can be pain, and it can be love. It doesn't matter. God doesn't care. Pain and love is the same. It's both extremes, but there's no good, no bad, no right, no wrong. So God experience itself here, and so the spacesuit, that the spacesuit is not running off a cliff. The spacesuit gets an autopilot, which is the mind. So, and when we die, we give back the spacesuit to Mother Nature to be recycled, and our ego, the autopilot, is stored in this hyperspace, and the soul goes back home, getting ready for the next incarnation. So once you understand this, again, this is my concept. You don't have to believe that. It's just me explaining my worldview. So what I understood is, first, I'm infinite. I'm infinite. I'm just experience this lifetime through my spacesuit here, and then you understand that you are me and I am you, and how you can be angry at someone or mad at someone. It's not possible, because it's you yourself. It's one entity, and that makes life a lot easier, especially with angry people. When angry people approach you with all this frequency, because it's just a mind, it's just an autopilot running a program, and when you, let's say, if you walk down the street and a blind person is bumping into your shoulder, you cannot be angry at the blind person, and you cannot say, look when you walk. Right? So, and there's a lot of compassion and love you bring into this world. It's plane above, and once you get lost in this plane of form, thoughts, and feelings, you always have this plane above where you can breathe for a second, and then you realize, okay, this situation everything is fine. It's just another me, another version of myself, not knowing what's going on. Okay, back. And then you have a different frequency. You approach this person with a different frequency, and that makes you a better person.
Mm.
Then,
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you
yeah.
for that, like really like vivid, visceral explanation of your viewpoint, and something that that you were mentioning earlier that I just really want to get into in this call for the viewers, because we've been talking about, like, you know, all the benefits of plant medicines, and I think it's really important to also talk about some of the shadow aspects of, like you were saying, the good, the bad, the ugly, and potentially something that I'm just like comparing this to is this idea of when we have these intimate physical experiences or sexual experiences, we have something called aftercare, and we have this conversation of this is what I desire, or we don't have this conversation. But either way, it's this idea of like, this is what I need afterwards to feel safe, to feel like our connection feels integrated in my life, in my body, whatever it is. And I feel like it's kind of a similar idea with the psychedelic journey of how important that aftercare is, aka the integration. And so I would just love for you to share, like, maybe the downfalls of like not getting proper integration and aftercare, like maybe in your own experience or in the experience of people that you've helped, where they've maybe come to you because of a bad experience, and just sharing a little bit more about, yeah, that side of things too.
Wow. Let me think of an example, because I remember the one topic was also addiction, right? If I understood the question right. I had one person who dealt with addiction, coming to me, and I made clear that the medicine showed him certain things, and he was really cheerful when he left Brazil, and he was really eager to put work into this. But as soon as he got back into his old environment, he struggled a lot, and he went back to using the substance, and so then I had to sit down with him and to dig deeper. Where's this addiction coming from? Because many people have this idea, oh, I have a cocaine, for example, in a cocaine addiction, I will take ayahuasca and ayahuasca will solve this. No. The addiction, especially with a substance like heroin or cocaine, the source of the addiction starts in the mind first. Usually childhood trauma, and you create compulsive behavior and coping mechanism. And coping mechanism can be because you're trying to soothe yourself with mostly pleasure, and that can be online shopping, masturbation, extreme sport, right? But if you're unlucky and get your hands on a substance which is highly physically addictive, then your organs are getting used to the presence of the drug inside the body, and then you face this what do you call it, withdrawal. And so sometimes you need to dig down. Where is this coming from? Where's this addiction coming from? Where in my childhood, or whenever I got to a point that what made me take this? And if you can get down to this point, again, integration work with a psychotherapist, if you can dig down to that point and you solve that little knot, this trauma, and if you understand where it's coming from, then you have a better chance to heal, to solve that issue. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I guess my question is more around like a warning for somebody of like what could happen to somebody who wasn't able, who didn't take the time or attention or have the opportunity to integrate.
Well, you always mostly you fall back into the own habits. You won't solve anything if you don't do any integration work. That's 80% of the healing process is integration work. Taking the substance is one thing. Even ayahuasca ceremonies can be addictive. I know people, they do three times a month. They go to an ayahuasca ceremony, and they live in this, and then this whole they carry this toxic positivity, and they didn't heal. They just replaced the problem with ayahuasca. So yeah, it's we say in German A and O, the Alpha and Omega. Yeah, it is the main work you have to put in. And if someone comes along and tells you, no, you just take the substance and you will heal, no.
It's so interesting because I have close friends who are sitting with these medicines, like you're mentioning, a few times a month. And I've had similar conversations with them. And I mean, someone can really feel like they're integrating. So like how do you know if you really are integrated? Is that just super personal and different time frames for everyone? Or do you think that people just kind of deceive themselves in the process?
This is why you need to work with the medicine and psychotherapy. It's not a one-time thing, right? And you will make mistakes in your healing process, and you will probably sometimes go back a few steps. But this is how you learn to swim, right? This is or how to learn to fly. And then if you hear the calling, only if you hear the calling of the medicine, then you go back. Because I give an example. For me, ayahuasca doesn't work anymore. I still go to ayahuasca ceremonies when I accompany clients of mine, but the medicine doesn't reveal itself to me anymore. I still have the physical sensation, the cleansing, but my ride with ayahuasca is over, and I'm grateful for this journey, and most likely I have more integration work to do. And then at some point ayahuasca, I will hear I guess I will hear the call of ayahuasca at some point again, and then she will show. But this is ayahuasca, right? There are different medicines. Now the mushroom is a different ball game. Yeah, the mushroom can be way more intense, and there's no, maybe he reveals himself. No, there's no left, no right. If you go for a heroic dose of mushroom, for sure, you will. It will hit you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think okay, I have a question up around this because I don't hear medical, but when I do, it becomes pretty strong for me and very clear. It's coming through in the space of my consciousness, interactions, conversations that I'm having. It's just very, very clear. But what I feel oftentimes, because I do live in a conscious community, and it's really saturated with ceremony, and not much of it feels very sacred to me or connected to a lineage. So I feel this resistance, right? Like I'm hearing the call, but then my question to you is how, when someone hears the call to sit with a medicine, do you find a reliable source? Like I intuitively feel like part of it, but I also just desire to know, and I know that can, be served through a friend, but is there a resource that you suggest that people can connect to when they're really hearing the call?
Always dig a little bit deeper. Yeah. It's really difficult to, especially if you take your service serious, and the medicine community is overflooded with ceremonies. It's like, let's say, propaganda, mouth propaganda. You need to ask your way through, and you need to trust your gut feeling, because there are too many. In a radius of, let's say, 20 kilometers, I can choose every weekend. I can choose between, let's say, 10 to 15 different medicine communities to do ayahuasca, and the majority of them, they don't know what they're doing. They're great people, big-hearted, but good intention is not enough. And again, it comes down to this point to don't do it with Westerners. Do it with indigenous people, and don't do it. You don't have to do it in Peru, where it's ridiculous expensive and the drug tourism is happening over there. So yeah, ask your way through, listen to your intuition.
Yeah, I love that saying, like, that good intention is not enough. And something also that's coming through, Heather, just to answer your question, in my experience, is also like when I start to hear the calling, it's almost like it's like starts as a whisper, and then it slowly gets like louder and louder in my life, and then until the point where it merges into my reality. And sometimes just hearing the call doesn't mean it's ready yet. It's like incubating, and it's also about patience and timing. And so just like knowing that it's arriving at some point, but not forcing it and making it happen on my timeline, but trusting that when the right person, source comes through, then that's the timing that it's meant to happen.
Yeah.
So leaning back into
Yeah. Well, I always say, if you, the main tip I can give is don't do it in Europe or in the US. Do it in South America, and do it with indigenous people, and you're probably safe with that. I'm not a big fan, even if some pages fly to Europe and offer indigenous ceremonies over there. I'm not a big fan of it, because now the younger generations of shamans, pages, they discovered, at least what in my community, I know, they discovered YouPorn. So you see those pages travel to Europe, they discover YouPorn, they bring it back. It has an influence in their culture and everything, and their mindset is changing too, right? And if someone offers ayahuasca ceremony in Europe, it doesn't matter how big and how many reviews they have and how professionals they seem to be, and if they talk science, it's also not enough. You think the page in the Amazon rainforest cares about molecular structure from this medicine and that medicine? No. Talking science is not enough. Good intention is not enough. And doing ceremonies in Europe, it simply feels wrong. It's like pouring ketchup over the caviar. Right?
And just to clarify, like, you're talking about like ceremonies with plant medicines that are specific to those parts of the world, like ayahuasca or like bufo, not like necessarily psilocybin.
No, psilocybin is the mushroom exists everywhere in the world. So,
yeah. So like being local with where these medicines are grown, and then going to the source.
Well, there's a whole, the psilocybin mushroom has a big history in Europe. Yeah, starting with Jesus, who administered psychedelic mushroom to his disciples. There's right, and there's so and you know, in Germany we have this purity law of beer brewing. It's really famous since the year 1516. There's a purity law, the Bavarian purity law of beer brewing. The background is because the Temple Knights, they brought this with them about the psychedelic mushroom with them to Europe, and beer brewing was usually a craft amongst the monks in the monasteries. So they applied the psychedelic mushrooms, they got high on that beer, they opened the channel to the source, they downloaded information, they wrote everything down, and at some point this knowledge about this psychedelic beer got out of the monasteries, and people started brewing their own beer, and they started waking up, and the church lost slowly control because people said, well, what the fuck, we don't need the church, what is that institution and stuff. So and the main reason for the purity law were to increase the quality of the ingredients, but the church used that as a deckmantel they came along, they said to the dukes, hey, get the psychedelic mushroom out.
Wow.
To gain so there's the whole sorry, yeah,
we're about to lose this call, like it's gonna hang up in like 2 minutes or so. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, this is so fascinating.
Good. No.
We would love to have you on again. I really deeply enjoy talking to you, and just the way that you connect dots and share information. It's truly heart-centered. You're a really beautiful vessel, and I'm so grateful for your time and energy today. And yeah, if you're open to it, I would love to continue this conversation with you on another live at another time.
Yeah, Christianity and mushrooms.
Yeah, that's
my favorite topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And for those of you who are just tuning in now, we're SISociety. We have these juicy conversations, taboo talks every Wednesday with different leading minds in this new earth paradigm. And it's been such a pleasure chatting with Toma today about the importance of psychedelic aftercare with integration. And you can watch this whole video on our page in our highlights. And for those of you who are interested in deepening the discussion with us, we also have a private WhatsApp community where we explore all these topics more in depth. You can just DM SISociety or Heather and I if you would like to be added to that. Thank you again, Toma.
Thank you.
For those who, what's the best way that they can work with you or connect with you or your wife?
Instagram.
Okay.
Instagram.
Easy enough.
Okay.
Thank
Much
you all
love.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So grateful. Heart explode.